Welcome back to Thrive America. This is segment 2 of 3, and I'm here with Action Coach, business coach Wayne Kurzen. Wayne, thanks again for coming on the show.
Sure, my pleasure.
We're going to jump right into some of your talking points on ways we can help the business owner, the entrepreneur, even the student thrive in this economy and beyond. And you mentioned here, free your C players. What do you mean by this principle?
Okay. If you think of the sports analogy, it's pretty hard to go to the playoffs if you have C players as opposed to A and B players on your team. So this one of the benefits of the current economic condition is that there's a lot of A players out there looking for work. So this is the time to get rid of your C players and replace them with A players.
Well, how do we know if we have a C player on our team?
Okay, it's a real easy question to ask, and that is, would you enthusiastically rehire this person today? And if the answer is no, then they're not an A player.
I know sometimes we have relationships with certain. I've been involved in several teams, sports teams, and different troops and so forth. And it's tough. What advice do you give to a business owner who may have, you know?
I think you hit on the probably the biggest challenge in this area, because as a small business owner, we not only know Brent, but we know your family, we know your kids' names and all that. And so when we start thinking about cutting, it really grabs at our heartstrings. So, but we have to ask ourselves the question: are we running a business or running a friend's hobby or a rehab center or whatever? So, but that is the toughest question. The rule in hiring and firing is we should be slow to hire, quick to fire. But we usually find the opposite is true. We're rather quick to hire and very slow to fire.
Great point, Wayne. Thanks for sharing that. Your next talking point here is expand your business. What do you mean by this?
Okay, there's a couple ways of expanding, but first of all, there's perhaps less business out there, so you have to be more aggressive about acquiring it. We have a term called a sandbox. A sandbox is your geographical area and your product offering. So you may want to expand your geographic area, or you may want to offer more products. Perhaps maybe you're an electrical contractor and you want to add security systems or some type of service that it complements what you're already doing. The other thing, though, that is really interesting is this is a great time to acquire another business. In fact, you can acquire other businesses for free. Example, one of my clients who is in the construction business, growing at 35% per year through this recession, and he had a particular area that he would tend to subcontract out. And I actually was part of putting together a situation where, and the primary company does refrigeration, installs refrigeration in supermarkets, but he also would sub out a lot of electrical contracting. Well, he was able to find an electrical contractor having some problems, bring him on staff, pay him a salary. The electrical contractor was happy because now he had a salary, and his wife was happy, and he was able to start getting rid of some of his debt. And the refrigeration contractor was happy in that he was able to do the electrical parts in-house. So that's an example of acquiring a distressed business and paying nothing, actually.
And you mentioned, I think a lot of business owners and different guests have talked about having a passion about what you do. And if a business owner is passionate but does maybe one thing in that industry, I think it's an aha moment that they can offer other services in that realm of that industry very easily and efficient. And expand their scope of business, of their sandbox. And
the truth is, business is changing, and if we're not willing to change, then oftentimes we're going to miss the opportunity of new markets, etc.
And I think the other side of the coin is, well, you don't want to do too many things because you want to get really good at one thing. So there is a balance.
Good point.
I think we have to find that balance.
Right.
Your next point is measure employee productivity.
Right.
What do you mean?
It's interesting. I read a book by Patrick Lencioni, who's kind of the guru of team building and at least one of the very best in the world. And he wrote a book called 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. And the 3 signs of a miserable job were: number 1, anonymity, nobody knows me. Second was irrelevance, no one, what I do doesn't matter. And the third one was immeasurability. The truth is, people like to be measured. They like to know when they win. And so what we found is that when you start to measure individual productivity, things start to really change. One example is a client that I work with. We not only measured individual productivity, but we published it for the others to see, and productivity went up 30%. Now, if you consider a 30% increase on your productivity on your employees, that's a huge, huge advantage over your competition who doesn't do that.
Wow, so strategies to improve internally can be dramatic, it sounds
Absolutely,
like.
right. It's not working smart, or working hard, it's working smart. And so it's the techniques of what to do, and not only what to do, but when to do it, and then how to do it. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of business owners are technicians. I know I am. I'm passionate about one certain thing in my field, and I'm a technician. And reluctantly, I've had to learn management and business strategy and how to work with other people in a way that I never thought I had to. So I just want to make that point, I guess, and for us to those that are watching. You mentioned here, don't cut marketing.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, that's the first thing they're cutting, but what do you mean by this?
Well, it's been proven, and there's been a number of studies of recession since World War II, that companies that continue to do marketing not only increase their sales, but increase profit. Again, we go back to something I mentioned earlier, is that there is less business out there, so those who are aggressive are going to get it. The key here, though, is to do smart marketing, and that's marketing that you've already tested and measured and know that it has a good return on investment. It's not just doing putting an ad in a magazine because it seems like a good thing to do. We do some testing and measuring it, and the truth is, if we find the marketing that works, we now have an unlimited marketing budget because we're getting more profit than we are spending on the advertisement.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we haphazardly pay money in marketing, and if we're not, it's like looking at the line items, being very methodical and figuring out what's wrong, maybe testing something else out, and if it's working, keep doing it. And the principle behind that.
I had a chiropractor who advertised in a glossy magazine, and I asked the question, so how many patients have you gotten out of this year? And he was paying like $900 a month, and he said, well, I've got 2. So the question is, are you doing this to get more business, or you like to see your face in this glossy magazine? You got to ask the question, why are you doing this?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one to figure out sometimes. Within that world. Well, Wayne, great stuff, and we're going to bring you right back for your final segment, and you're going to give me some personal advice and some things that we can look in the future in your industry. So we'll be right back with Mr. Wayne Kurzen.